deep in the treacherous Sonora Desert where temperatures soar to deadly highs. And survival itself is a daily battle America's most critical military supply route has become a hunting ground for. Mexico's most ruthless cartel, the Sonora Cartel led by the infamous Vent El Coyote Ramirez, has orchestrated what they believe to be their boldest operation yet, hijacking a heavily guarded U.S. military convoy, carrying advanced medical technology and next-generation tactical equipment. They're worth over $300 million, but El Coyote's perfect plan is about to collide with a force he never anticipated. Commander Jack Morrison and his elite Navy SEAL team have been waiting, using this very convoy as bait in a trap months in the making. For 3 months, military shipments have been disappearing, each theft more precise than the last, each operation seeming impossibly well-informed tonight in the unforgiving Mexican desert. 6 of America's most lethal operators will reveal why some lines should never be crossed. What unfolds over the next 72 hours isn't just a mission, it's a reckoning. As El Coyote's men celebrate their successful heist, they have no idea they're being hunted by ghost men who can turn the desert itself into a weapon. Warriors who master the art of becoming invisible in plain sight. This is the story of how the world's most sophisticated cartel learned the hard way that some forces you don't challenge, some units you don't provoke, and some weapons you don't steal. Before we jump back, and tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Vicente El Coyote Ramirez stood atop the ridge, desert wind whipping his expensive tactical jacket as he watched the convoy through high-power binoculars. 3 armored trucks, standard military escort, moving exactly as his intelligence had indicated. His radio crackled with updates from his spotters positioned along the route for personnel in lead. Vehicle 3 in each follow. The spotter reported in Spanish, moving at predicted speed, no air support detected. El Coyote smiled, perfect, just like the others. Begin the operation. 15 kilometers away, Commander Jack Morrison watched the same convoy through his own optics, his 6-man SEAL team hidden in prepared positions across the harsh terrain. They'd spent weeks setting this up, letting the cartel think their intelligence was perfect, their plan foolproof. Ghost status, Morrison whispered into his calm. 3 technical vehicles moving into ambush positions. Chief Wilson replied from a sniper perch, heavy weapons mounted, looks like about 20 Tango well-equipped docu. Seeing their medical team, affirmative. Rodriguez responded. 2 vehicles holding back, they're expecting casualties. Morrison allowed himself a grim smile. The cartel had learned from their previous heists, adapted their tactics, but they'd also grown confident. Predictable tech. Are we broadcasting the convoy's false signal? Is strong. Sir Parker confirmed they're seeing exactly what we want them to see. Lieutenant Torres's voice came through next position in the mobile command center, giving her a broader view of the operation. Satellite confirms addition. Cartel forces holding at waypoint Charlie. They're following the exact protocol we predicted. Tank your team in position, ready to block their escape route. On your mark. Thompson answered. They won't know what hit them. The convoy continued its steady progress through the desert, maintaining its carefully planned speed. To the cartel observers, it looked like another routine military transport, slightly under and, due to recent budget cuts, the perfect target. El Coyote gave the order, commence the attack. His forces moved with practice precision, vehicles emerging from hidden positions to surround the convoy. The lead technical opened fire, its heavy machine gun sending precise bursts into the lead vehicle's engine block. The convoy responded exactly as expected, the drivers attempting standard evasive maneuvers that played right into the cartel's prepared kill zones, are executing perfectly. Torres observed every move, matching the previous heists. Morrison watched as the cartel forces smoothly disabled the convoy, their tactics showing clear military training time to shake their confidence. Ghost take the shot. A single round from Wilson's suppressed rifle struck the lead technicals, gun of the impact barely audible over the desert wind before the cartel forces could react. 2 more precision shots eliminated key personnel, creating strategic chaos in their formation. What's happening? El Coyote demanded as his carefully orchestrated operation began to unravel. Where are those shots coming from his radio erupted with confused reports, each shooter invisible, each shot seemingly coming from a different direction. Years of experience told him something was wrong. This wasn't random resistance. This was a coordinated counterattack. Tank cut off their retreat. Morrison ordered tech jam their comms. Time to show them what they're really dealing with. Thompson's team detonated prepared charges, sending carefully placed boulders crashing onto the escape route. Parker electronic warfare suite killed the cartel's communication network, leaving their forces fragmented and confused. What seemed like a purr. Ambush was rapidly becoming a trap, not for the convoy, but for the attackers themselves. Or Torres reported urgently, "We've got movement at Waypoint Charlie." Their reserve forces mobilizing right on schedule. Morrison replied, "Let's give El Coyote something to think about." Execute phase 2. The SEAL team moved like shadows through the desert terrain, their attacks precise and coordinated. Each strike targeted key personnel and equipment systematically, dismantling the cartel's operational structure while leaving their forces largely intact. This wasn't about body count, it was about sending a message. El Coyote watched in growing horror as his perfect operation fell apart. These weren't normal military forces. The precision, the coordination, the psychological impact of each attack. He'd seen this before in reports he dismissed as exaggeration. Navy SEALs, he whispered, realization hitting him like a physical blow. Abort the operation, get our forces out. But retreat was no longer an option. His men found themselves caught in a perfectly executed trap. Their every attempt at regrouping met with precise, devastating response. The convoy itself, he now realized, had been bait. Its cargo carefully selected to draw out his entire operation. Sir Torres updated. Morrison cartel forces are falling back to secondary positions. Intel suggests they're going to attempt a scorched earth withdrawal. Morrison nodded. Everything was proceeding according to plan. Maintain pressure, but let some of them escape. We want them to report what happened here. The desert wind carried the sounds of combat across the harsh landscape as America's most elite warriors systematically dismantled what had been Mexico's most successful military heist operation. But this was just the beginning, the first phase of a mission that would unravel a conspiracy reaching far beyond a simple convoy robbery. El Coyote clutched his satellite phone, fingers trembling slightly as he dialed a number he'd hoped never to use. "We have a problem." He spoke in English. They knew we were coming. Someone betrayed us. The voice that responded was calm, educated American. Impossible. The intelligence was perfect unless there was a long pause. "Get your men out. Destroy everything. We'll need to accelerate the timetable." As the sun began to set over the Sonora Desert, turning the sky blood red, Commander Morrison watched the remaining cartel forces retreat into the gathering darkness. Phase 1 was complete, but the real mission was just beginning. Somewhere in the shadow, a traitor had just revealed their existence, and the hunt was about to begin. The desert night settled over the aftermath of combat, creating long shadows across the scattered wreckage of El Coyote's failed operation. Commander Morrison's team moved methodically through the abandoned cartel vehicles, their night vision equipment revealing details invisible to the naked eye. The air still carried the acrid smell of gunpowder and burned metal. Found something. Sir Rodriguez called out, his gloved hands carefully examining documents from a destroyed technical. "These aren't standard cartel operation plans. This is military grade intelligence." Morrison knelt beside his medic, studying the partially burned papers. These convoy routes weren't just leaked. Someone provided them with complete operational details, including response protocols. That explains their success rate. Ghost added, securing his sniper rifle while joining them. They weren't just getting lucky. They knew exactly how our forces would react. Tech approach carrying a damaged laptop. "Sir, what's left of their communication equipment is interesting. They were running an encrypted network that mirrors our own protocols. This isn't cartel standard." Lieutenant Torres' voice came through their comm command centers, picking up scattered communications from their retreat. "They're heading into the Sierra Madre Mountain satellite. Shows multiple potential compounds in that region of course there." Morrison muttered. "Tank, what's the status on the prisoners?" 3 captured, 2 wounded. Their low-level muscle, but one of them might be worth talking to. Former Mexican military based on his tattoos. A new voice cut through their channel. "Commander Morrison, this is Agent Reyes, I'm 5 minutes from your position, DA, has some intel you need to. See Morrison exchanged looks with his team. The DA's involvement wasn't part of the original plan copy. That agent will meet at the convoy meanwhile, in a hastily established hideout 30 kilometers away. El Coyote paced nervously in front of a satellite. Video feed, 3 shadowed figures watched him from the screen. This wasn't just a random patrol. El Coyote insisted they knew everything. The entire operation was a trap. Calm yourself. Vent. The central figure spoke as American, accent carrying an air of authority. What exactly did you observe about their tactics? They weren't trying to stop us. They were studying us, testing our responses. They let some of my men escape deliberately, and the convoy's cargo, we never got close enough to verify its contents. But if your intelligence was correct about what was carrying the cargo, is irrelevant now. The figure interrupted. What matters is containment. Your organization has been compromised. Implement protocol black. El Coyote's face paled. But that would mean everyone who knew about the operation. Everyone. We can't risk loose ends back. At the ambush site, Agent Maria Reyes stepped out of her unmarked SUV. Her tactical gear marking her as more than a standard DA agent. She carried a thick file under one arm. Commander, she greeted Morrison. 3 months tracking these shipment hijacks, and you managed to break their pattern in one night. Impressive. We had good intel. Morrison replied carefully. Better than you know. She opened her file. These attacks weren't random. They were probing operations, testing response times and protocols, building a blueprint of our entire supply chain security system. Tech looked up from a laptop. He was still examining. Commander, I've broken through their first encryption layer. These aren't just convoy routes. They have detailed information about 6 different military installations along the border. That matches our findings. Reyes confirmed. We think the convoy hijackings were just a cover for something bigger. They were mapping our entire border defense infrastructure. Morrison studied the documents spread before them on the hood of the vehicle. This level of intelligence, gathering the precision of their operations, they're building up to something. The question is what ghost added joining them and who's helping them. This isn't standard cartel behavior. They're usually hit and run. Not whatever this is. A burst of static came through their comms, followed by Torres's urgent voice. Commander, we've got movement. Large convoy of vehicles leaving Suad Negro heading into mountains. Thermal imaging shows they're burning documents. Protocol black. Reyes said suddenly, her face grim. It's a cartel cleanup protocol. They're eliminating everyone connected to the operation. Morrison's decision was immediate. Gear up. We're moving out in 5. When whatever they're trying to hide, we need to find it before they destroy everything. Sir Tank called out. The prisoners talking says there's a main compound in the Sierra Madre, some kind of command center they've been building for months. That fits. Reyes added, we've detected unusual construction activity in that region, but the terrain makes surveillance almost impossible. Morrison gathered his team. Listen up. Whatever we stumbled into here is bigger than a few stolen shipments. These people have military-grade intelligence, professional training, and resources we haven't seen before in cartel operations. We're going to follow them into those mountains and find out exactly what we're dealing with. What about the cleanup? E-Crew's ghost asked. We can't save everyone, Morrison replied grimly, but we can follow the bodies. People this organized don't leave loose ends without a reason. Every person they're trying to eliminate is a potential lead. Tech finished downloading data from the captured equipment. Sir, these frequencies they're using there. Military band. Someone with high-level access is helping them. Then we'll find them too. Morrison stated, gear up for mountain warfare. We're dealing with an enemy that knows our playbook, so we're going to have to write a new one. As his team prepared for pursuit, Morrison studied the mountain range looming in the distance. Somewhere in those peaks, answers were waiting, but first aid. Have to survive the climb. Torres's voice crackled through once more. Sir, thermal imaging shows multiple vehicles converging on a single location. Whatever they're protecting up there, they're willing to kill their own people to keep it secret. Good. Morrison replied, that means we're close to something important, and people who are scared make mistakes. The team moved out under the cover of darkness, leaving the desert battlefield behind. Ahead lay the Sierra Madre Mountains, where the real war was about to begin. The cartel thought the mountains would protect them. They were about to learn that altitude only makes the hunters more Dangerous telling and preparing this story took us a lot of time. So if you are enjoying and subscribe to our channel, it means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The Sierra Madre Mountains loomed like ancient sentinels in the pre-dawn. Light their peaks shrouded in low-hanging clouds, Commander Morrison's team moved. Through the treacherous terrain in a modified diamond formation, every step calculated against the double threat of cartel surveillance and the lethal landscape itself elevations affecting their vehicle performance. Ghost reported from his forward W position thermal scope, revealing heat signatures ahead. They're starting to bunch up on the switchbacks. Morrison studied the mountain paths through his binoculars. They're funneling toward that ridgeline. Tech watched the thermal reading on the north face, picking up unusual heat. Signatures, sir, consistent with hidden infrastructure, could be power generators. Ventilation systems. Agent Reyes, who had insisted on accompanying the team, pointed to a seemingly natural rock formation that matches our geological surveys. There's something big buried in that mountain that shouldn't be there. The team's advance was interrupted by Torres's urgent transmission, multiple vehicles breaking off from the main convoy. They're heading for secondary positions. Thermal shows armed personnel deploying in a defensive pattern there, setting up a gauntlet tank, observed using the terrain to force us into kill zone. Morrison processed the tactical situation quickly. They know these mountains probably have pre-prepared positions. Ghosts, find me a way around. Their line's already on it, sir. There's a shepherd's path about half a click east steep, but it'll put us above there. Positions. Meanwhile, inside the mountain facility, El Coyote burst into the main control room, his usual composure shattered. They followed us somehow. They followed us. The facility's interior revealed a stark contrast to the rugged exterior. Modern equipment, advanced security systems, and personnel moving with military precision. A large digital map displayed multiple tracking signals converging on their location. Calm yourself, a voice spoke. From the shadows, Colonel Richard Hayes stepped into the light, his U.S. military uniform incongruous in the cartel facility. This facility was designed to withstand military assault. Even SEALs can't breach these defenses easily. You don't understand, El Coyote insisted. These aren't normal soldiers. They're hunting us. Everything we've done to stop them has only given them more information. Then perhaps it's time to give them something else to think about. Hayes turned to his communications officer. Initiate protocol Omega Burn everything and release the prisoners back on the mountain slope. Morrison's team had split into two elements. Ghost and Tank maneuvered to the high ground, while Morrison led the others through the shepherd's path, using the pre-dawn darkness to mask their movement. Contact front. Ghost whispered to Sentry's professional stance. These aren't a cartel soldiers. Take them. Morrison ordered. Ghost suppressed rifle cough, twice the sound lost in the mountain, and when the team advanced past the fallen sentries, their gear confirming Reyes' suspicions. U.S. military issue, she noted, examining their weapons, recent production, not stolen merchandise. Sir Tech called out his tablet displaying intercepted communications, getting multiple distress calls. They're releasing prisoners from somewhere inside the facility. It's a diversion. Morrison realized they're trying to flood the area with heat signatures, mask their real movement. Classic counter tracking technique. The mountain erupted with gunfire as hidden defensive positions engagged the approaching team. Rounds ricocheted off rocks, forcing them into cover. Multiple shooters using interlocking fields of fire. Tank reported this is a professional military defense setup. Morrison keyed his radio. Ghost, we need that high ground working on it, sir. But we got company up here too. These guys know what they're doing. The firefight intensified as dawn broke over the mountains. Morrison's team responded with practiced precision, using their superior training to gradually push the defensive lines. But each position they took revealed more questions and answers. Commander Torres radioed from her observation position. Satellite shows vehicle less leaving the facility through concealed exits. Multiple heat signatures moving deeper into the mountain range. They're not just running. Reyes observed. They're executing a prepared evacuation plan. This whole facility was designed to be abandoned. Quickly, the team fought their way closer to the main entrance, encountering increasingly sophisticated defenses. Tech worked quickly to bypass security systems, while Tank and Rodriguez provided ING fire. Sir Tech called out these security protocols. There are U.S. military cyber defense System's latest generation inside the facility, Hayes watched the security feeds with growing concern. Your men are dying out there for nothing, Vicente. It's time to implement the final contingency. You want to bring down the whole mountain, El Coyote asked. Incredulously, this facility cannot be compromised. The operation is larger than any of us. Morrison's team breached the outer defenses, fighting through corridors that could have been lifted directly from a U.S. military installation. Every room they cleared contained more evidence of a massive operation. Documents, shredders still warm. Reyes noted examining an operations center, but they missed something. She held up a partially destroyed file. These are deployment orders they're planning. Something big, and soon Sir Tech called out urgently, detecting multiple explosive signatures throughout the facility. This whole place is rigged to collapse. Morrison's decision was immediate fallback. Everyone out now. The team retreated as the first charges began detonating. The mountain itself seeming to groan as support structures failed. They emerged into daylight just as the main entrance collapsed behind them. Torres, do you still have eyes on those vehicles? Morrison demanded. Affirmative, sir. They're heading toward the old mining complex at Punto Negro. Satellites show significant activity in that area. Morrison studied the distant peaks where their quarry had fled. The facility's destruction hadn't discouraged him. It had confirmed they were on the right track. They just sacrificed a multi-million-dollar facility and dozens of men to protect whatever they're planning. He observed, we must be getting close to something big. Commander Tech added, holding up his tablet. Before the system went down, I managed to pull some coordinates. Multiple sites across the border region, all with similar security profiles to this one. It's not just one facility. Reyes realized this is part of a network. Morrison gathered his team. The morning sun cast long shadows across the mountain peaks where somewhere ahead had their real target waited. They think the mountains will protect them, he said. Time to show them how wrong they are. Punto Negro's abandoned mining complex sprawled across the mountainside like an industrial scar. Its rusted equipment and crumbling structures providing perfect cover for both defenders and attackers. Commander Morrison's team approached from multiple angles, using the terrain to mask their movement as the afternoon sun cast deceiving shadows across the complex. Thermal imaging shows at least 30 heat signatures. Ghost reported from his overwatch position. They're concentrated in the main processing facility, but they've got squads patrolling the perimeter. Tech worked on his tablet, analyzing intercepted communications. They're using rotating frequencies, military-grade encryption, but their patterns familiar. It's an adapted version of our own protocols. Multiple vehicles in the loading bay. Torres added to the radio. They're moving equipment inside. Whatever they're planning, it's happening. Soon inside the facility's makeshift command center, Colonel Hayes studied surveillance feeds, while El Coyote paced nervously. The room was filled with communications equipment and tactical displays that seemed out of place in the decrepit mining complex. Your men failed to hold them at the mountain facility, Hayes said coldly. Now we've lost our primary operations center and half our tactical advantage. My men, they were your soldiers to El Coyote shot back. You said this operation was foolproof. You never mentioned Navy SEALs because they weren't supposed to be involved. Hayes turned to his communications officer status of the other sites. All facilities reporting ready, sir, awaiting final authorization. S-Team had split into 3 elements approaching the complex from different angles. Ghost and Tank maintained Overwatch, while Morrison led the main assault team with Tech, and Rodriguez providing tactical support. Agent Reyes, what exactly are we looking at? Morrison asked as they studied the facial layout. This was one of Mexico's largest silver mining operations in the 1980s. She explained the complex goes deep into the mountain with tunnels connecting to other mining sites, perfect for moving supplies undetected across the border or for staging a major operation. Morrison added Ghost status on those patrols. They're good, sir, military training. Definitely wait. Ghost's voice sharpened, got eyes on Hayes. He's in the main building, second floor. Morrison processed as confirmation of their suspicions. A full colonel involved in cartel operations. This goes higher than we thought, sir. Tech interrupted, picking up some strange power readings. Are drawing massive amounts of electricity, but it's not showing up on any grid. They've got their own power supply tank, observed independent infrastructure. They're planning to be here while inside Hayes was growing increasingly. Agitated as reports came in from his security teams, they're out there testing. Our defense is your cartel army isn't going to stop them, Vicente, then perhaps? It's time to show them what else we have. El Coyote suggested the special units know. Those are for the primary operation. We stick to the timeline Hayes turned to. His tactical displays seal the lower levels, if they want to come and nail, have to come through the front. Morrison's team began their approach using the complex-owned infrastructure as cover. Years of military training guided their movement to the killing ground that Hayes had prepared. Multiple snipers' positions marked. Ghost reported they've got interlocking fields of fire covering all main approaches. Sir Tech added urgently intercepted communications suggest they're moving something through the lower tunnels, some kind of equipment transfer. That's not our priority. Morrison decided, Ed, we need to secure Hayes and El Coyote before they can destroy more evidence. Agent Reyes, your call. DA has jurisdiction here. Take them alive. If possible, she replied, we need to know who they're working for. The assault began with Ghost systematically eliminating the snipers, creating gaps in the defense that Morrison's team exploited. They move like shadows through the complex years of training, evident in every precise movement. Contact front tank, called out as the first real resistance emerged. The firefight was brutal and close, both sides demonstrating professional military training. These aren't cartel soldiers, Rodriguez observed as they cleared rooms. These are American operators, private military contractors in command. Senator Hayes watched his defensive line crumble. Initiate the fail-safe dump. Everything in Viente. He turned to El Coyote, drawing his sidearm. I'm afraid this is where our partnership ends. El Coyote moved faster. His own weapon already aimed. I don't think so, Colonel. I knew you would betray us eventually. That's why I kept insurance. Sir Tech called out as they fought their way upward, detecting massive data transfers. They're purging their systems. Morrison led the final assault on the command center, breaching just in time to find Hayes and El Coyote in their standoff. Both men turned their weapons toward the new threat. Commander Morrison, Hayes sneered, do you have any idea what you're interrupting here? I know enough, Morrison replied. The question is, how much are you willing to die for? You think this ends with us? Hayes laughed. We're just one piece of something much bigger. Even if you take this facility, you can't stop what's coming. Maybe not, Morrison acknowledged, but we can start here. The tension broke in an explosion of violence. El Coyote dove for cover as Hayes opened fire, forcing Morrison's team to scatter. The firefight was chaos in close quarters experience and desperation on all sides. Tech secure that data, Morrison ordered as he engaged Hayes. Ghost, if anyone tries to leave this facility, stop them through the gunfire and chaos. Piece of a larger puzzle began to emerge. Documents scattered across the command center revealed glimpses of an operation far larger than simple drug running or weapons theft. Sir Tech called out, his voice urgent as he accessed a partially destroyed terminal. These aren't just smuggling routes, they're invasion plans. Multiple strike points along the border coordinated with internal assets. This was never about drugs or weapons. It's about creating chaos on demand. Hayes, wounded but still fighting, laughed darkly. You're too late. The operation is already in motion. This facility, it's just one of dozens. You can't stop what's coming. To battle for Punto Negro wasn't just about capturing criminals anymore. It had become a race against time to prevent something much worse. As the sun began to set over the mountains, Morrison knew they were no longer just F in a cartel. They were up against an enemy within, and the clock was ticking. The mining complex's command center lay in ruins, bullet holes marking the walls, and smoke still drifting from destroyed electronics. Morrison kept his weapon trained on Hayes, while Rodriguez secured the colonel's wounds. El Coyote sat in a corner, surprisingly calm for a man whose empire was crumbling. Multiple teams moving to the lower levels. Tank reported through the radio, all resistance has ceased there. Surrendering in groups. Tech worked frantically at the surviving terminals. Sir, I'm piecing together fragments of their data. They were coordinating with at least 6 other facilities across 3 states. 7 El Coyote corrected, drawing everyone's attention. The facility in Chihuahua isn't on those drives. Hayes kept certain operations compartmentalized. Morrison studied the cartel leader carefully, decided to be helpful. I'm a businessman, Commander Hayes, and His people, there's something else. They use our networks, our influence, but their goal was never about profit. Hayes laughed despite his wounds. You really don't understand what you stumbled into, Morrison, by this time. Tomorrow, multiple vehicles. Approaching Ghost, voice cut through the radio. 3 SUVs, diplomatic plates, Mexican federal police markings, but there. Movement pattern is all wrong, Morrison. Turned to Reyes. Your people know she. Replied, checking her phone. Our liaison teams are still 2 hours out, those aren't. Federal's cleanup crew, El Coyote, said grimly. Hayes has friends in high places. They're here to sanitize the operation, Morrison. Made a quick decision, tech grab. What you can tank, secure the prisoners for transport. Ghost, do not let those. Vehicles reach the complex, disable, only no casualties, if possible, copy that. Rodriguez, I could use your help up here, tech transfer data, while simultaneously monitoring communication channels, sir. Picking up chatter, multiple agencies are going dark along the border, DEA border. Patrol, local police, someone's coordinating a communications blackout. It's starting, Hayes said softly. You can't stop it, now the pieces are already. In motion, El Coyote stood slowly, hands raised. Commander, what Hayes and his people planned, it's worse than you imagine. Let me help you stop it. Why should we trust you? Reyes demanded. Because unlike Hayes, I have to live in this country. What they're planning will destroy everything legitimate business. Illegal operations, everything they want. Chaos. Morrison's radio crackled, sir. Vehicles disabled. Ghost reported occupants are retreating, but they're making calls. We should expect more. Company tech, what do you have? Multiple attack vectors. Sir, they're planning to hit border infrastructure, power stations. Communications hubs, water treatment facilities, create confusion, overwhelm. Emergency services, standard destabilization tactics, Morrison noted. But why? Because chaos creates opportunity, Hayes interjected. When systems fail, people accept solutions they'd normally reject. New policies, new powers, new control measures. El Coyote nodded. They're using us, using the cartels to create a crisis. Then they sweep in with their solution, their increased authority. Sir, Torres called in satellite shows multiple convoys moving near border towns. They match the pattern. From the stolen shipments, Morrison turned to El Coyote. You said Chihuahua. What's there? The command center. The real one, names, dates, connections, everything. Hayes kept off these computers. I can take you there. The trap Ray has. Warren, probably, Morrison agreed, but it's our best lead. He keyed his radio. Ghost. Rodriguez, get down here. Tank, prepare the prisoners. For transport, we're moving out. Sir, tech called out these attack plans. The first wave is scheduled to begin in less than 6 hours. Morrison studied the tactical display, minded racing through. Options, they had multiple critical targets, limited time, and an enemy that seemed to hold every advantage. They think they planned for everything, he said finally, but they didn't plan for their own people turn against them. He turned to El Coyote. You'll take us to Chihuahua. But first we need to make some calls. The communications blackout Ray has started, won't affect certain channels. Morrison cut in tech that equipment they were using to monitor military frequencies works both ways. Correct, yes, sir, we can broadcast on their secure channels. Good time to let every cartel leader in 3 states know they've been played. Let's see how Hayes' plan holds up when his pawns realize they're being sacrificed. Hayes struggled against his restraints. You'll start a war? No. Morrison replied, we're going to prevent one. Your people wanted chaos. Let's show them what real chaos looks like. The team began moving, preparing for a race against time somewhere in Chihuahua. Answers waited, but first they had to survive the next 6 hours, Sir Ghost reported as he entered those vehicles. We disabled their occupants, included 2 U.S. State Department officials. Keep that information secure. Morrison ordered. The deeper this goes, the more careful we have to be about. Who knows what? El Coyote watched the teams preparations with growing respect. You know, they'll try to stop us before we reach Chihuahua. Count on it, Morrison replied. That's why we're not using the roads. He turned to his team. Gear up for cross-country. We're going to remind them why they call us Ghost. Darkness cloaked the team's movement across rough terrain. Their path deliberately avoiding roads and known patrol routes. Morrison LED them to a dry riverbed, using natural features to mask their heat signatures from overhead surveillance. 3 separate cartel groups have gone dark, tech reported, quietly monitoring communications. They're pulling back from Hayes' operation points. Not fast enough, El Coyote responded, keeping pace despite his civilian status. The first attacks will target power distribution nodes. When those go down, backup systems will route through secondary stations where Hayes' people are waiting. Morrison concluded ghost status to surveillance. Drones high-altitude military grade. They're searching a grid pattern 5. Clicks east keep us clear of their vectors tank. How's our guest Hayes is? Secure been muttering about contingencies, but nothing useful. Reyes moved alongside Morrison Border Patrol. Reports increased activity at 3 crossings. Someone's creating diversions. Spreading resources. Then the team paused as a helicopter passed overhead. Its searchlights sweeping the terrain. Morrison used the moment to check their position against tech data. First target is 18 minutes out. He noted power substations serving 3 border towns. Tech, what's their attack profile? Small team, 4 to 6 operators. They'll hit the control systems first, then plant charges on the main transformers tank. Take Ghost and Rodriguez. Stop that team. Secure the facility. Will continue to Jaha. Sir, tank acknowledged. What about collateral concerns? These aren't cartel soldiers. They're professionals working for Hayes. Don't hesitate. As tank's element broke away, El Coyote watched them disappear into the darkness. Your team moves well, but Hayes' people will be expecting resistance, counting on it. Morrison replied, that's why we're not hitting their primary targets. Ray has caught his meaning. The support infrastructure, supply lines, communication hubs, fallback positions, everything they need to maintain operational control. Tech, start broadcasting the intel about Haz's betrayal on all known cartel frequencies. In the distance, the first explosions lit up the night sky. The attack sequence had begun. Sir Torres radioed in multiple reported power failures along the border. Emergency services are overwhelmed. Right on schedule. Hayes called out from his restrained position. K. Low breeds opportunity. Commander, the system has to break before it can be rebuilt. Morrison ignored him, focusing on their approach to a hidden valley ahead. Lights flickered as another power station went dark. 4 teams are broken. Contact Tech reported cartel elements turning on Hayes operators. Local authorities are getting anonymous tips about attack locations. El Coyotes network. Reyes asked some of them. The cartel leader admitted others are realizing they were meant to take the blame. Hayes' people left enough evidence to implicate the cartels in everything. Morrison's radio crackled. Tank here. Substation secured. 4 operators down. 2 captured. They had military IDs. Sir Special Forces retired. Copy to hold position. Wait for federal response. Maintain communications. Blackout. The team pressed on, moving through increasingly difficult terrain. Each explosion in the distance marked another piece of Hayes' plan unfolding. They're adapting. Tech warned, studying his tablet, changing frequencies, altering attack sequences. These are trained contingency operators. Sir Torres cut in satellite shows vehicle movement at the Chihuahua facility. They're bugging out. No, El Coyote said firmly. They're consolidating. Everything leads back to that compound. Hayes was just one piece of the operation. Morrison checked his watch. The operation had entered its critical phase where careful planning gave way to rapid adaptation. Tech, get me Torres's satellite feed. Ghost team bought us time, but we need to move faster. He studied the tactical display. There's a maintenance access road through these hills used for power line repairs. Exposed. Ray has warned, but vast, and they'll expect us to stay hidden. Morrison made his decision. Tech signal tank's team to head for the secondary rally point. Agent Reyes, your call. This is about to become an official operation. We're beyond jurisdictions now. She replied, whatever we find in Chihuahua has to be handled off the books. El Coyote laughed softly. Now you understand why. Do you think they chose this region? No oversight, no clear authority. Perfect conditions for what they had planned. Another explosion lit the horizon, followed by the distant wail of emergency vehicles. Sir Tech reported picking up chatter from military channels. Someone's mobilizing National Guard units right on schedule. Hayes called out martial law is such a useful tool. Don't you think? Morrison signaled the team forward. Stay focused. Would have 2 hours to reach that compound before they can complete their data purge. Everything else is just noise. Not everything. El Coyote corrected the attacks, the power failures, the emergency response. It's all designed to establish patterns. When the real attack comes, everyone will be looking the wrong way. The team moved out, leaving the sound Of chaos behind them ahead lay answers, but Morrison knew they'd have to survive. To find them, the night was far from over, and Hayes' people were playing a longer game then. Anyone had suspected Commander Torres. Radio would be advised multiple unmarked. Aircraft just entered Mexican airspace, no flight plans, no transponders, the real players are. Arriving, El Coyote said grimly, "We need to hurry." The Chihuahua facility emerged. From the darkness, like a corporate office complex, its modern architecture, incongruous against the rugged landscape security, lighting cast sharp shadows across the grounds were armed. Teams moved with professional precision, three-tier security. Morrison observed through his night vision outer perimeter building teams and internal response units, not Cartel standard private military contractors. El Coyote confirmed former Special Forces intelligence operators. They have handled the facility's real security tech, monitored their tactical display, reading multiple signal sources they're using. Military-grade communications encrypted, but there's something else he adjusted. His equipment's secondary transmission system, very low-frequency underground. Infrastructure Reyes suggested these buildings could be just a surface layer. Morrison's radio clicked twice. Tanks signal his team had reached their designated position. Sir Torres reported. Those aircraft are holding patent 30 miles out matching profiles to known CIA. Transport configurations. Time's up. Morrison decided we go now before there. Reinforcements arrive. Tech, initiate the blackout. Tech, the fingers flew across. His tablet. Seconds later, the facility's lights died, plunging the complex into darkness. Emergency power kicked in immediately, but the momentary confusion was all they needed. Move. Morrison ordered the team split into predetermined elements using the practice coordination of years. Working together, Morrison led the main assault in team while Tech worked to penetrate the facility's electronic defenses. Outer security responding. Ghost reported from his overwatch position. Standard search pattern. Wait, they're not searching, they're falling back to defensive positions. They're expecting us. Reyes realized. Good. Morrison replied, then they'll be looking the wrong way. El Coyote, where's a real entrance? Loading dock east side. The freight elevator leads to the lower levels. The first engagement came fast and fierce. The security teams were indeed professional, but Morrison's unit had trained specifically for this type of close quarters combat. The firefight was brief, but intense. These aren't contractors. Rodriguez reported, checking fallen opponents' current military IDs. Delta Forcer Tech called out, urgently detecting massive data transfers there. Moving files to secure OB servers. Not all of them. El Coyote counted the core data. Hayes' rail operation files, those have to be accessed directly. Security protocol. Morrison made a quick decision. Tank security, this level. Tech, find those servers. Rodriguez with me. He turned to El Coyote. Time to earn your trust. They MVE deeper into facility, encountering increasingly sophisticated security measures. Each layer revealed more about the operation's true nature. Research labs, Reyes noted as they passed sealed doors. Medical equipment. This isn't just a command center testing facility, is El Coyote explained. They needed to verify their delivery systems would work as intended. Delivery systems. For what? Before he could answer, the elevator doors ahead opened, revealing a full tactical team. The firefight erupted at point-blank range, both sides demonstrating elite-level combat skills. Clear. Morrison announced moments later, checking the fallen operators. These men have diplomatic credentials. CIA Special Activities Division. Sir Tech's voice crackled to the radio, accessing the secure servers. Now this goes way beyond border operations there. Planning simultaneous actions across multiple countries. Copy that. Download everything. Torres status on those aircraft beginning their approach. Sir. 8 minutes out, the team reached the facility's lower levels, where the true scale of the operation became clear. Banks of servers filled climate control rooms, while tactical displays showed operation plans spanning the entire continent. It was never about drugs or weapons. El Coyote said quietly, those were just cover stories. They needed our distribution networks, our influence in local governments. They're planning to reshape the entire region. Sir Tech voice was urgent. Found Hayes' core files. This isn't just an operation, it's a coup. Multiple countries coordinated disruption of civilian infrastructure, staged terrorist incidents there, creating conditions for military intervention. Morrison studied the tactical displays, seeing the bigger Picture emerge how long until their full plan activates first phase is already. Active the border chaos second phase initiates in 3 hours after that. Commander Torres cut in multiple vehicles approaching heavy armed presence, and those aircraft are making their final approach. Morrison faced a decision point. They had the evidence, but extracting it in themselves would mean fighting through elite U.S. military forces. Sir Rodriguez spoke up. These are our own people. People out there, American soldiers, following orders, wrong orders. Morrison replied, Tech, upload everything to our secure channels, Agent Reyes. Your agency needs this intel immediately. They'll deny everything El Coyote warned. Men like Hayes, they don't act without protection from the highest levels, maybe. Morrison acknowledged, but first they have to deal with us, and we're not going anywhere. The facility's lights flickered as backup systems engaged above. The sound of helicopter rotors grew louder. All teams maintained tactical discipline. Morrison ordered, these are American soldiers out. They're probably operating under official orders. Disable only, no lethal force unless absolutely necessary. We're here to stop this operation, not start a war, Sir Tech reported. Data upload complete, but they're starting their purge sequences. We have maybe 10 minutes before this place destroys itself. Morrison checked his ammunition mind, already formulating extraction plans, and let's make them count. Ghost, find us an exit route. Everyone else, prepare for contact. The real fight's about to start. Alarms blared through the facility as environmental systems began their shutdown sequence. Emergency lighting cast red shadows across banks of servers that were systematically wiping themselves clean. 2 minutes until complete. Data purge, Tech reported, fingers flying across multiple keyboards. Copying what I can, but they've got redundant deletion protocols. Go status on our exit. Morrison maintain security on the main access point while Rodriguez and Tank secure their flanks. Heavy presence topside, sir. 3 helicopters, multiple ground teams. They're deploying in standard containment formation. El Coyote moved to a wall panel, entering a code. There's another way. Maintenance tunnels connected to the old mining system. They kept them operational for emergency evacuation. Sir Torres cut in satellite shows vehicles dispersing from the facility. Someone's destroying their paper trail. Boots on metal stairs echoed from above as the first assault team descended. Morrison signaled his people into defensive positions. Federal agents, a voice called out, stand down. Immediately, Agent Reyes, Morrison said, quietly, time to make a choice. She drew her weapon, already made it. Those aren't federal agents up there. The firefight erupted in close quarters, both sides showing exceptional restraint in their target selection. Morrison's team used non-lethal tactics where possible, focusing on disabling rather than killing. These are agency wetwork teams, Reyes observed as they secured fallen opponents' Phoenix program patches. They're not supposed to operate domestically. Sir Tech called out urgently, found something in their files. Project Shadowgate, multiple phases with countdown triggers once phase 2 starts. We can't stop it. How long? 2 hours, 17 minutes. El Coyote had the maintenance tunnel open. This leads to an old ventilation shaft half-mile to the surface, but they won't expect it. Tank take point. Tech grab where you can. Rodriguez rear guard. Morrison keyed his radio. Ghost maintain overwatch as long as possible, then fall back to rally point Delta. They moved into the tunnels. As more teams breached, the lower levels of passage was narrow, forcing them to move single file through decades of industrial decay. Multiple teams entering the tunnels. Ghost reported they know the route. Of course they do, El Coyote said, but they don't know all of them. He paused at an intersection, examining old markings. This way, there's a collapse. Ahead on the main route, Sir Torres radioed, intercepting tactical communications. They're getting orders directly from Washington. Someone high up is coordinating this. The tunnel network was a maze, but El Coyote moved with certainty. Behind them, voices echoed off stone walls as pursuit teams spread to the complex. They're not just chasing us, Reyes realized. They're sweeping for anything we might have dropped. USB drives, hard copy standard information containment. Morrison confirmed, which means what we found is even bigger than we thought. Tech checked his tablets. Are copied about 40% of their files before the purge completed, including partial details on phase 2 targets. How bad? Multiple simultaneous strikes, power grid, water treatment, telecommunications. But they're not just hitting infrastructure. They're targeting specific individuals, judges, police Chief's military commanders remove everyone who could effectively respond. El Coyote explained create a leadership vacuum that only certain people can fill. The tunnel ahead lightened slightly, moonlight filtering through a nulled air. Shaft, but as they approached, voices echoed from that direction too. They've got the exit covered, Ghost reported. Multiple teams, night vision.